Hi, my name is Fatimat Reid, and I'm running for Monroe County Family Court Judge. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I stayed in Brooklyn for a few months and returned to Lagos, Nigeria with my mother, where I stayed there with my grandmother and the rest of my extended family until I was about 8 years old. My memories of Lagos, Nigeria are that it's really all about family. I enjoyed really the festive times. We were very poor in Nigeria, so oftentimes you have to pay to go to school in Nigeria, so there will be lots of times where I did not go to school for extended periods of time. But overall, my experience in Nigeria was really all about my family, my culture, and really living in a village-style atmosphere. I was about 8 years old when my mother was able to save enough money to bring my sister and I to the United States. And so I remember vividly preparing to leave for the United States, which was very exciting because if everybody knows that going to America means that you are going to have the ability to be successful, to do whatever it is that you want to do in life, because we view America sort of as a place where the streets really are lined with gold. I mean, you come to America, you are going to be successful. So I remember it just really, really being an exciting time. We moved to Milpitas in California when we first arrived. It's a very small city in Central California, so that's where we first lived. It was a different time in my life. You know, I had just been reunited with my mom after many, many years of not seeing her, and I just met my little brother, Junior, for the first time. Because in Nigeria, we did not have public schools, and so having the ability to go to public schools really made me want to work hard and really want to be successful. And so all I remember really is wanted to do well in the work and wanting to prove to teachers and even myself that I was capable of doing the work. We learned English very, very quickly. We even tried to, my sister and I both worked to lose our accents because we thought that that would make us fit in better amongst the students and amongst in the society there, in the city there, because we just really wanted to feel like we belonged. My sister and I both were in the children's shelter waiting for emergency placement and waiting to see if we would be reunited with my mom based on some issues that were occurring in the home between my mom, my stepfather, and my sister and I. And so we were in the children's shelter for a few months before we were placed in emergency foster care about, several miles away from Milpitas. We were actually in Morgan Hill in emergency foster care. And so between emergency foster care, we were placed at another foster home a few months later in Gilroy, California. And it was about a year and a half into going back and forth between foster care and group homes that I met Erica Yu, who she became my child advocate. She was appointed by the court, the family court system, to be my child advocate, really to be my voice. If I felt that I couldn't talk to a social worker or talk to a judge or talk to a CPS worker or a caseworker, Erica was appointed to really be that advocate and really be someone there that I can talk to. Monica Smith came into my life several years later. I was about 15, 16 years old. So from the time I was about 10 to about 15 or 16, again, I was in several different foster homes back and forth between the children's shelter, which really is like a juvenile detention center. They have their own school. You're not allowed to leave. They sort of have their own compound, complex. It was totally, completely gated. There was no leaving the complex. And so from going between the shelter, group homes, and foster homes, I was about 15 years old. I was at a particular foster home that was not going well at all. It was in Morgan Hill, but the school that I went to was in Gilroy, so I would wake up early, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, to take a bus to my high school every day, which proved difficult because if you imagine, there's a teenager trying to get up in the mornings, trying to get herself to school. And, I would often miss the bus or have to walk miles to catch another bus. And so I struggled in that high school. I struggled socially because, a lot of the kids in my high school had their own families. They have their own things going on. And, I was this foster kid walking down from the foster home that I was in, sat up atop of a hill. It was a ranch. And so they used to say, who's that kid, who's that black kid always walking down that hill? From that weird looking ranch. So so it was a struggle during that time. But about 15 or 16, when the foster home that I was in, it was a very, very toxic environment. But I had a friend in school named Anjali, and she and I became fast friends. And I used to often go to her house, and her mom, Monica, really was, she was a mom. She was the best mom that I had ever seen. Whenever I went to their house, she treated me not like a guest, but I was like one of her other daughters. She had two other daughters in the home. And I used to run track and field with her daughters as well. But she used to treat me just like one of her daughters. When I would come over and I would think I could just kick back, she'll say, hey, it's your turn, go wash the dishes. And so I would have to wash the dishes. And so we became really fast friends. She was certainly a mother figure to me. And when the situation in the group home that I was in was very, very toxic, Monica took me in. She decided to become an emergency foster mom, her and her husband, Don Smith, to take me in so I can finish out at least my sophomore year at the high school that I was in. Hi, my name is Fatimat Reid, and I'm running for Monroe County Family Court Judge. I was 15, turning 16 when I left California to go live in New York City, in Brooklyn, New York. So New York definitely proved to be a different challenge, a different lifestyle, even though I learned a lot from New York as well. It put me in an environment where I was able to learn more about my Nigerian culture since I was away for so long in foster care, in group homes, and in the children's shelter. And that time, it helped me grow more in my culture, helped me understand my culture better until I graduated from high school and I started my collegial career in community school. My first year, I went to Borough Manhattan Community College before I went to school upstate to SUNY Oneonta. And there I majored in chemistry, which a lot of people don't know, but I was a chem major. And so if you're a Nigerian, people always know that you're either going to go to medical school or law school. So I was a BS. I received my BS in chemistry from SUNY Oneonta. But it was during my time there in SUNY Oneonta and spending some time in Buffalo that I really started to learn more about the law. And in my relationship with Erica Yu, she was a lawyer, and now she's a judge in California. And I was able to see her in her courtroom at times and really understanding the law and really understanding that being able to understand the law and knowing your rights really gives you a different perspective in the United States. It allows you to be able to protect yourself better in the United States. As a wife, as a mother of 4 small children, as an attorney who has worked in Monroe County for over a decade, and as a former foster child, I am committed to bringing a different perspective to the family court bench. On November 6th, I ask for your support to elect me, Fatimat Reid, as your next family court judge. My experience in college, I felt was very good. I didn't make the typical college experience most young people would. I was very focused. I knew that the way to stay out of poverty and the way to really contribute to society was to do very well in school. And so I studied very, very hard in college. I found friends and really a support system that were like-minded like me, and all we did was study, make sure we got good grades so we can continue to improve our lives. It wasn't always my plan to go to law school. My plan was to go to medical school, but certain experiences that I had really encouraged me. And my relationship with Erica, I was able to watch Erica in court, not only when she was a lawyer, but also when she became judge in her courtroom. The way she treated the people who appeared in front of her with respect and with dignity, and she always gave time to explain to people in the courtroom what was going on, why they were there, and what choices they had. And seeing that type of empowerment in the courtroom really, really convinced me and really motivated me to want to study and practice the law. Yes, I remember when I passed the bar exam. It was the greatest feeling anyone can ever have. It took me back to the time when we first went to the children's shelter and some of the struggles that I experienced. And now passing the New York State Bar, which is one of the 2 hardest bar exams to pass, it really gave me a sense of freedom. I just was so overjoyed. I felt free. I felt like there was nothing that I could not do, and that I was capable of doing really great things now, armed with a law degree and a law license. So during my last year of law school, I met my then boyfriend, my now husband, Gerard, and it was an instant connection, which was odd for me because I was just so driven and so focused on school. So it wasn't anything in particular that I was looking for, but he was just so kind and so sweet. And I think what really surprised me and amazed me when I first started dating Gerard was his relationship with his parents. I had never really been so close to someone who was so close to his parents, and you can tell that their upbringing and the way they were raised was different from a lot of people that I knew. They were a family of faith. They loved each other. They called each other and sought advice from each other. So you can tell that really their background, their upbringing was very different from what I've experienced and what I know a lot of other people that I knew experienced. The summer after I graduated from law school, and they were just Howard and Jennifer Reid. That was the first time that I met them, and they were just kind, good people. They were very interested in knowing who I was, my background, and they are both ministers, and so they really come from a place of love and understanding, and so they were just 2 of the greatest people I could say that I've ever met in my life. I started out in Rochester working at the law firm of Wolpoff and Abramson, and it was probably about 6 months later that Gerard and I had our first child, Anaya. And so this proved a new challenge and a new experience because I'm trying to build a law career, and then at the same time, now, we're raising a child who needs you, who needs your attention. And it was, but it really ended up being such a great experience because as I was developing my career, I'm raising my child and, really having a family unit and really being focused on taking care of the family, but also continuing to develop myself as an attorney. Hi, my name is Fatimat Reid, and I'm running for Monroe County Family Court Judge. After leaving Wolpoff and Abramson, then I went to work with the law firm of Davidson Fink. working with Tom Fink, who I revere as one of the most accomplished attorneys in Rochester. He was a tough boss. He never let me settle for less. He always said that, as an attorney, never settle for the obvious solutions. Your clients pay you to be excellent, and so you have to be excellent always. The work I did with Tom was a lot of heavy commercial, very complicated work. And so during that time is when I really, really developed myself as an attorney, as a good attorney. And I really started building myself and building my own practice. I was the first associate there to bring in my own $1 million clients. And so I would, close huge real estate deals because really from the teachings of Tom, and Tom really encouraged me to get out there in the Rochester community, get to know people, and really be ferocious about my own career. And so all along, Gerard and I were having our children. And so, again, as a working mom, having, growing a family and developing myself as an attorney, it comes daily with its own challenges, but it's also very rewarding. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights, a lot of sacrifices. But I knew for my children, I really wanted to be a great example. When a position came to work with the city of Rochester, I really was excited to accept a position with the city of Rochester as their litigation attorney. And I did that for about 2.5 years until there was another position with the Rochester City School District as its litigation attorney. And that's when I really had the opportunity to work closely with a lot of children and the families of Rochester. In Monroe County, working as an attorney, going to courts back and forth and doing all the practice, it's a tough job, and especially raising a family and being a working mom, it's really a tough job. And so I've been humbled and really just blessed to be recognized by my peers in Monroe County, by other attorneys, by other organizations in Monroe County for the work that I have been doing over the past decade here in Rochester. I'm so grateful that the Rochester Business Journal, I was awarded the 40 Under 40 Award for 40 men and women who have contributed to the county. I've also been recognized as Attorney of the Year, really by a group of my peers. While developing myself as an attorney and really building my career, I also thought that it was important to be involved in all of our local bar associations, to be able to mentor and be able to really lift other attorneys up as I climbed. I'm so grateful that as I started my career out in Rochester, that there were a lot of people who served as mentors, who served as confidants to really help me navigate the path to being an attorney and to being a good attorney. As other than one other person in my life, I didn't have any lawyer to readily ask questions to. And so I thought it was important to be involved in all of the bar associations. I was president of the Rochester Black Bar Association, where we mentor young minority attorneys and really help them navigate the legal community. I've also been part of the Monroe County Bar Association and been involved in different committees in the Bar Association. And also I am a member of the Greater Rochester Association of Women Attorneys. And as an attorney, I know we all work very, very hard and we work long hours at work, but I thought for me that it was particularly important to be part of all those bar associations, really to serve as a mentor and a role model for other attorneys. I made a decision to run for family court judge about a few months ago, and I really had to think long and hard about it. I have a pretty busy job as chief of staff for the Rochester City School District. I have 4 small young kids, all under 11, that I'm raising with my husband, and so our time is limited, and I knew that running for office was going to be a huge undertaking for myself and my whole family. But then I thought about the perspective and the experience that I would bring to the family court bench. Not only do I understand the technical applications of the law, but my work with the Rochester City School District, talking to families, dealing with issues with the families and the students of the Rochester City School District every day really motivated me. In talking to the families, I recognize that there is a disconnect between the family court bench. While they are very well-meaning people, but they do not have the experience of working with the families and the children every single day and seeing how their decisions affect their lives. Because it's one thing to make the decisions and then just walk away, but it's another thing that then, I have a student or a family in my office really asking me for help and seeking guidance in how they deal with a custody decision or a child support issue. And because all those things impact the kid's school, where a child is placed based on custody or foster care affects how they attend school, affects transportation, and really affects the students themselves. It really affects them in terms of needing additional social, emotional support, or really just needing somebody to listen to them if they felt not heard in court. And so really having that type of experience, not only the technical experience, which is very, very important, but having the real life person to person dealing with the aftermath of family court decisions is also very, very important. And so because I bring a different perspective and I don't have any blind spots, I bring a fresh perspective. I would bring a fresh perspective to the family court bench. And after consulting my husband, my in-laws, my children, because they, it's important for them as well. We really, talk together, pray together to make the decision that it's really incumbent upon us. It's our duty. It's my duty to bring this perspective to the family court bench and bring a whole new thought, bring a whole new perspective to the bench. And so that is why we decided to run for the family court bench. As a wife, as a mother of 4 small children, as an attorney who has worked in Monroe County for over a decade, and as a former foster child, I am committed to bringing a different perspective to the family court bench. On November 6th, I ask for your support to elect me, Fatimat Reid, as your next family court judge.